Here is a wonderful Ghost Stories of America. This is compiled by Dan Asfar and Edrick Thay. These have some wonderful, wonderful stories in it. I'm going to be trying to release these stories, these quick short stories for you guys for the upcoming of Halloween, which is actually my favorite time of year. I love getting dressed up. I love displaying my haunted house and getting things all ready and giving out candy and making kids jump and then inviting them in. And I do a lot of the what's called trunk or treating, and so I set up a booth for the back end of my car for the kids to come in and pick up candy with the adults. And I make it more of an experience than just per se coming to the back end of a trunk and picking up candy. And in doing that, I try to give it kind of that spooky atmosphere as well. And so we will be live broadcasting from inside our spooky tent during the events, and we will be letting you guys know how we do. So let me go ahead here and get into Kansas. This is Atchison's haunted house. Around Atchison, she is called Sally, the man-hater, a vicious specter that haunts a stately continental home in the west bank of the Missouri River. Sally has become a supernatural celebrity in Kansas in recent years. She has appeared on a number of local television programs, makes headlines in the newspaper every Halloween, and is the focus of many of the state's paranormal enthusiasts. But for those few who have actually had the misfortune of living with Sally, the malevolent spirit is neither an interesting conversation piece nor a subject for study, but a bad memory that should be forgotten as soon as possible. Many have been misled by Sally's moniker. A man-hater she may be, yet Sally is not the spirit of a jilted lover, embittered wife, or vengeful matriarch. In fact, Sally is only a child, probably a frightened, angry one who still cannot understand why she never made it past her 7th birthday. She has been known to take out all her fear, her anger, and uncertainty on certain men who dare set foot in the house in which she died. Sally's story reaches back to the early 1900s. It was early one spring morning, and Atchison, premier physician, was enjoying breakfast in his home as he looked out on the waters of the Missouri. Whatever thoughts he was immersed in were interrupted by a panicking knocking at his door. Getting up to see who it was, he instantly snapped into his medical mind frame when his eyes fell on the two humble forms at his front door. A tear-faced mother, sobbing in frantic concern, stood there with her young daughter in her arms. The girl, who obviously in extreme pain, clutching her abdomen and letting out long, agonized wails as she twitched convulsively. Her name was Sally. Without missing a beat, the doctor picked up the young girl, took her to his office, and laid her down on his examination table. He arrived at his diagnosis in minutes. The girl had an appendicitis, and her appendix was about to rupture. Quickly anesthetizing her with a face mask soaked in ether, he brought out his surgical tools for an emergency operation. He already had his scalpel in hand and was beginning to cut when he heard the girl emit a weak scream. Looking up, he saw that she was staring down at him as he cut. She was obviously horrified and was trying hard to get up, but between the drugs and the pain, she was unable. Since the doctor deemed her condition too grave to delay treatment, he proceeded with the surgery. though his patient lay watching in bewildered terror. Alas, the doctor's urgency was well-founded, and the girl's appendix ruptured before he was able to remove it. She was dead before the day was up. For reasons unknown, the doctor moved out of his home soon after Sally was buried, and for a long time after that, little was said of the incident or of the house that it occurred in. The tragedy of young Sally receded into local history, and it wasn't until the early 1990s that Sally's story returned to Atchison with a bloody vengeance. A family that had just moved into the house began having disturbing experiences. Or rather, the man in the small family began having disturbing experience. Neither mother nor daughter was ever touched. At no time did the females of the house feel in danger or even slightly out of place, though the strange events that occurred early on in the haunting were unsettling at all. The television would turn on in the middle of the night. When the husband and wife would get up, they would find only the family dog in the room, its hackles up, growling at the wall as if preparing to attack somebody neither of them could see. While they succeeded for a while at blaming the trouble with the television on the dog, they had no way of explaining the family portraits, which were continually flipped around so that they hung upside down on the walls. This would usually happen sometime in the middle of the day when nobody was home. And then there were their daughters' toys. Whenever they were strewn about, they were always found shortly after arranged into a perfect circle on the floor. But these could all qualify as supernatural pranks. It wasn't until the attacks began that things got really out of hand. The man of the house could feel the change in his bones. One day, the house just got cold, and it never got warmer. Although his wife and daughter didn't complain, the husband could never get comfortable. When he wasn't struggling with a constant temperature drop, he was fighting off the butterflies in his stomach, feeling as if someone was going to hit him at any time. Sure enough, the attacks began shortly thereafter. He was in a first-floor room the first time it happened. His stomach had just started its familiar adrenaline-fueled churning when he felt a painful rake across his forearm. The man looked down to see 3 long gashes running down his arm. Over the next few months, the attacks continued. Sometimes he would feel the slashing across the back. On other occasions, he would double over as 3 cuts made their way across his stomach. Rest grew increasingly difficult. Strange dreams would often interrupt feverish sleep, and more than once he would wake to see a glowering young girl standing at the foot of his bed, staring at him silently. That was when the family decided to move. The popular belief is that the girl was Sally, who was also responsible for the attacks on the father. If this is true, Sally is a lonely spirit, unable to understand why she had to die, and why she was subjected to so much pain before she passed away. It's possible that her experience on the operating table has caused her to take her anger out on all men. The only problem with this explanation is that no stories have emerged from the house since the family moved away, though other families have moved in since, some including men. No bizarre events or malicious attacks have been reported. Maybe the man who was attacked bore a striking resemblance to the doctor in question. It could also be that Sally was waiting for the 90-year anniversary of her death to arrive, and it's quiet once again. Who knows? All that is certain is that the house in Atchison became famous in the early 1990s, and there are many supernatural buffs who are waiting for young Sally to strike yet again. Thank you there for listening to that one. That was the Atchison's house in Kansas. These are historic homes. We're going to be trying to get a few of these out during Halloween, which we've got quite a few different books that we're going to be supplying a lot of these ghost stories out of. I want to thank you guys so very much for being a part of this and coming along on our journey of this scary and spooky October. You all have a wonderful, wonderful, and blessed day.